With 8.4 million consumers thinking it is up to the travel companies to make their international experience an environmentally friendly one that is more sustainable, obviously the industry has got a lot of work to do alongside those customers to get the best out of not only our planet so we don't destroy it, but also the holidaying experience too. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Responsible Tourism Advisor for World Market Travel, Dr. Harold Goodwin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too.
So, first of all, when it comes down to travel these days, obviously we hear a lot of things about being able to be offsetting carbon when we fly. Is that the sort of first place we should be thinking when we're looking at sustainable and responsible tourism?
Well, certainly flying is one of the biggest challenges that the industry faces. I'm not sure that offsetting is going to solve the problem, really. We need to encourage the airline industry to move over to alternative fuels. And there are two in the running: sustainable aviation fuels, which are basically made from biomass or waste food. And probably the long-term hope is hydrogen, but these things will take time to come. But it isn't just about the aircraft and that journey. It's also about the way we choose to travel on land, how we choose to spend our money, what we choose to eat, and whether we choose to buy local when we're away.
Yeah, because when it comes down to it, like in all parts of our lives, having bottled water and the like isn't necessarily sustainable. The plastic itself is an issue. But when we travel, we're often advised not to drink the local water. So it is about knowing about the place you're going to see what you can and can't do.
One of the things that you're absolutely right, Jason, one of the things that the travellers and holidaymakers say is that they don't get enough information from the travel and tourism industry about what they should be doing to be more sustainable and more responsible. And they find it more difficult to be responsible consumers when they're abroad. So what we've set up with World Travel Market now is a platform for change to try and encourage more of the travel and tourism industry to do what already the good providers are doing. And the good providers extend from companies like TUI and the travel tourism company right through to small B&Bs and inns and pubs in the UK.
Yeah, I know when I've been to hotels and B&Bs, you're always being asked about reusing towels. Obviously, you wouldn't change your towels every day at home. It's one thing that you can do when you're traveling without it seeming to be a hassle, because you haven't even got to wash them yourselves. But you don't need to. I like to see when you're going to a hotel or whatever that you actually have a refillable bottle of shower gel in the shower rather than all these mini ones which are just putting waste out there. And those are the sort of starting points. But with so many people having spent the pandemic saving up for the holiday of a lifetime, what sort of things that we can do to make sure it's a holiday with a lifeline for the planet?
Well, Jason, if you want just the things you said, if you wanted to make a contribution to changing the way accommodation and tour operators operate, ask the questions, ask them why they are using disposable plastic bottles, single-use plastics, why they aren't using locally produced shampoos and other products, soaps, for example, in the bathrooms. If you ask those questions, you'll be helping to drive change. And I think that is one of the biggest things that tourists can do. If you look at what's happened in our supermarkets, for example, now it's quite difficult to buy battery farmed eggs. And most supermarkets are talking about organic food. And that's because they listen to consumer demand. The competition demanded that they respond to that agenda. So it is quite obvious that consumers can make a very big difference if they demand it from the people who are providing their accommodation and their transport when they go away on holiday.
And when we are on holiday, it's kind of as if we're taking a break from our normal life. So whilst we might sort out all the recycling into the right boxes when we're at home, it's something that we can still carry over to when we travel.
It is, and indeed most people do if they understand the system. One of the challenges is that it's done differently in different countries. So, for example, if you're traveling to the Gambia, there's a tendency to crush up the bottle as though it's going to go for recycling, whereas in fact it's much more likely to go off to be reused in somebody's home, and crushing it is the last thing you should do because it removes the value that it would have as an existing bottle. People will be reusing it, they'll be upcycling it, not destroying it.
So again, understanding that local element to it and making sure your travel operator is telling you what you need to know when you get there. And again, this is all about asking, and it's all part of this platform for change.
And that's empowering for you. I mean, if you think about what's happened over riding on elephants or swimming with dolphins, a lot of people were misled by their tourism provider into thinking that was an okay thing to do. Many of those people are now feeling pretty guilty about having had that experience. Really, they need to remember that when they're talking to the tour operators and the accommodation providers. They need to be asking whether what they're doing is actually responsible or not.
And when it comes to maybe playing golf in a country where that water would be much better used servicing crops rather than keeping a golf course green, again, it's about it is supply and demand, but we need to make sure we're thinking about that. Play golf in the UK where we get plenty of rain to water the greens.
Indeed, but we don't get plenty of water everywhere in the UK. Where I am, we're quite water stressed, not this year, so having a very wet year, but other years it is. And you have to ask yourself whether you really need a beautiful green surface on which to play golf. They play cricket on dry pitches all over the world, and some of the best cricketers learn to play on the dirt patch in the village in India or Pakistan.
So again, it's a lot of things to think about. But certainly we seem to be doing so, and we have more of a concern. So what can we do to make our voice heard? It's fine talking at a local level, but is there a bigger way of doing this to get the message across?
I think the best thing you can do is whenever you're booking something, think about it, ask questions, demonstrate to the industry that you want to be able to purchase something which they've taken the trouble to make responsible on your behalf. That's how we change supermarkets, and that's how the consumers can contribute to changing the way the travel and tourism operates.
And is there a website that you have that can direct us to the sort of things that we need to ask, and maybe give us a bit of food for thought on things we haven't even picked up on?
Yes, there is a responsible tourism website. If you go to if you search on Google for WTM responsible tourism, you should be able to find some advice for travellers.
And where is your next holiday planned for, and how have you made that responsible?
Well, I'm going for work up to Scotland. I'm going up on the sleeper. I'm coming back on the sleeper. I'm travelling by rail when I'm there, and I'm staying in self-catering accommodation and eating in local pubs and restaurants. And it's going to be a fantastic experience. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is about thinking about that, because I mean, if you are eating at a local restaurant, yes, you are spending money in the community, but sometimes, yeah, you probably have less food waste and the like if you were to just cater for yourselves in self-catering accommodation. So it is, again, trying to get that balance and thinking it through.
It is
still enjoying the holiday.
Jason, believe me, I should be asking the pub what they're doing about their waste food.
There are good questions to be asked wherever you go, aren't there?
There are indeed, and really your listeners can make a big difference if they engage with those questions.
So give us the details again where we can find out more.
It's on the WTM website. It's if they put WTM responsible tourism and travel, they'll find it.
Dr. Harold Goodwin, Responsible Tourism Advisor, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jason. Hopefully WTM will get the proper web link to you for that later today.